I'd just seen Second City, and so in the committee, so I had this idea of putting improvisational comedy with
Tommy
the girls.
Chong made America
so the
laugh
girls,
for
instead
decades.
of pretending to take
But
off
in
their clothes, they really
1985,
took off
a fight inside a hotel room
And
ended
you have
everything.
Pin drop.
Yeah.
He sat alone, crying, while his
And
partner
so-
Cheech Chong walked out for good. What fans never knew was that their breakup wasn't about creative differences. It was about betrayal, money, and heartbreak. There were secret emails, stolen millions, and even a son who lied to protect his father's name. Tommy Chong's story began far from fame. Born on May 24, 1938, in Edmonton, Alberta, to a Chinese father and a Scottish-Irish mother who both worked themselves to the bone. His father, Stanley, came to Canada to build railroads, suffered in war, and made barely enough to survive as a truck driver. His mother, Lorna Jean, had worked since she was 7. They lived in poverty, without electricity or plumbing, in a place his father bitterly called Dog Patch. When Tommy was just 3, tuberculosis tore his family apart. His mother was sent away to a sanitarium for 5 years, his father was off at war, and little Tommy was placed in a Salvation Army home for abandoned children. Even there, kindness came with reminders that he was different, being called their cute little brown guy. Those early years taught him what it meant to be an outsider. By the time he was 5, the family was living above a Chinese restaurant in Calgary's Chinatown, where the air smelled like soy sauce and garlic. Discrimination followed them everywhere. His father struggled to find work, gambled what little money they had, and they were constantly being evicted. Racism was rampant, and Tommy later said Calgary in the 1950s felt like Mississippi when it came to prejudice. He found refuge in jazz music surrounded by other misfits, Black, Indigenous, and immigrant kids. That's where he learned rhythm, soul, and the art of performance. At 16, he dropped out of high school before they could expel him and joined a mixed-race band called The Shades. They were so good that crowds packed every show, but their popularity angered city officials. In 1957, the mayor and police chief told them to leave town because they weren't white enough. At 19, he was exiled for his skin color. After that, Tommy did whatever paid the bills, truck driving, selling cars, until a car accident at 18 left him with a limp and chronic pain. That injury ended his physical work, but it opened another door. He turned his pain and struggles into jokes, using humor to shield himself. In the 1960s, he moved to Vancouver with his band, renamed Little Daddy and the Bachelors, and later joined Bobby Taylor and the Vancouvers. They even signed with Motown and recorded a hit song, Does Your Mama Know About Me? But Motown fired him for missing a show, offering him $5,000 to walk away. Instead, Tommy turned his old nightclub, the Shanghai Junk, into a counterculture hub where topless dancers, jazz, and underground comedy blended. That's where his comedic voice was born. Then came the 1969 encounter that changed everything. A young draft dodger named Cheech Chong wandered into his improv group, and their chemistry was instant. Together, they created outrageous sketches mocking authority and celebrating stoner culture. Their first album sold 500,000 copies without any radio play. Dave's Not Here became legendary, and their underground fame exploded. Between 1970 and 1972, they were being recorded secretly by police at college shows, arrested for lighting fake joints on stage, and banned from TV. But every scandal made them more famous. In 1978, their movie Up in Smoke was released. Studios called it trash, but it made over $14 million on a $2 million budget and turned them into icons. It was the first major film to celebrate weed culture, and audiences literally hotboxed drive-in theaters. But while studios and managers got rich, Cheech and Chong each took home only $25,000. They had signed a 90-10 deal that bled them dry. As success grew, so did the fights. Chong wanted total control, directing and writing, while Cheech felt sidelined. During Nice Dreams, Chong gave Chevy Chase extra screen time and cut half of Cheech's scenes, making tensions worse. By the early 1980s, their relationship was hanging by a thread. They were robbed blind by their own managers. Millions stolen through fake expenses, fake rentals, and stolen merchandise profits. They were supposed to make over $6 million each, but they barely saw a fraction. In 1985, it all exploded. During the making of Get Out of My Room, Cheech confronted Tommy about creative control and money. That night, after years of betrayal and burnout, their partnership ended in silence. Tommy sat in a hotel room crying, realizing he had lost his best friend and his other half. Tommy tried to go solo, but without Cheech, his projects flopped. His 1990 film Far Out Man failed miserably, and studios stopped calling. Meanwhile, Cheech became a respected actor, starring in Nash Bridges and voicing Disney characters, while Tommy was reduced to small parts and B-movies. Then in 2003, federal agents raided his home in Operation Pipe Dreams, a $12 million sting over selling glass bongs online. Out of 55 people charged, only Tommy went to prison, mostly because prosecutors said his comedy mocked police. He pleaded guilty to protect his wife and son, and served 9 months in federal prison, where he shared a cell with Jordan Belfort, the real wolf of Wall Street. He said prison broke him. He came out with PTSD-like symptoms, disillusioned with America. But it also made him stronger. He became a cannabis activist, testifying before Congress and fighting the same system that tried to silence him. Then came an even greater fight. In 2012, Tommy was diagnosed with prostate cancer. He refused chemo and turned to hemp oil, strict diets, and faith in the same plant that had defined his career. By 2013, he declared himself cancer-free, but in 2015, rectal cancer struck, and this time it was brutal. Surgery left him with a permanent colostomy bag. He suffered constant pain, depression, and weight loss, but his wife Shelby stood by him every step of the way. Even through the suffering, Tommy used humor to survive. He called his condition a pain in the butt and laughed on stage about the bag that kept him alive. In 2008, years before his recovery, a strange twist occurred. His son Paris secretly emailed Cheech, pretending to be his father, to convince him to reunite. It worked. They launched the Light Up America tour, their first together in 25 years. Fans across the country filled theaters again, crying and laughing as if no time had passed. In 2025, at 87 years old, Tommy Chong still tours with Cheech. Their bond, once broken by pride and money, has healed with time. He runs a cannabis empire worth over $100 million with dispensaries in 19 states, turning his pain into purpose. He says all marijuana is medical, that laughter and cannabis saved his life, and that no one should suffer in silence. Tommy Chong lost friends, fame, and millions, but he never lost his spirit. From poverty to prison, from heartbreak to healing, he turned every downfall into comedy. He says laughter is medicine, and it's the only thing that kept him alive. So if you grew up laughing at Up in Smoke or ever found strength in humor, make sure to subscribe to Hollywood Bulletin and press the bell icon. Because Tommy's story proves that no matter how dark life gets, there's always something to laugh about.